Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Racing Rundown with Lex. If you're new here, it's Racing Rundown. I am Lex, and typically we talk about Formula One and everything that happens during the Formula One season, but I had the opportunity to interview British racing driver Maxwell Dodds, and this is the interview. It was amazing. He is lovely and so talented, so you guys should stick around, hear what we talk about, and yeah. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button if you please, and turn on all notifications so you never miss my upload. And next week is Circuit of the Americas, or COTA, at Austin, Texas, and you should definitely check it out. Okay, make sure to subscribe, and hit that share button if you please, and turn on all notifications so you never miss my upload. Okay, I love you all, and roll the intro. Okay, so how would you introduce yourself to my followers?
Well, first of all, I'm Maxwell Dodds. I am a British racing driver from Harrogate, and I am on the ladder to try and become a WEC driver. Basically, that's my goal, to be in the 24 Hours Le Mans, a hypercar driver for some form of manufacturing. Basically, that's where I want to spend my career.
What got you into racing? I read on your website that you started karting when you were 4.
Yeah. So I started karting at quite an early age. My dad raced when he was younger, in like British Formula Ford, that sort of stuff. And he grew up with a lot of touring car drivers. I'm not sure if you're aware of the BTCC, like the touring cars in the UK. And lots of his sort of best friends are like Matt Neal, Jason Plato, Gordon Shed, and they're all people that have won touring cars multiple times. And I sort of grew up around that when I was younger. So I was sort of, again, 3, 4, 5 years old, around that sort of paddock. And then basically I just wanted to start, and that's kind of how it went from there. And then it just went crazy within sort of a year of just doing it for a bit of fun. It went from that to full blown, like every sort of weekend.
So what was it like karting at such a young age and having that experience be such like a critical part of you growing up?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was completely like mad with how full on it was. I think on my busiest year it was 48 out of 52 weekends in the year, so it was mad how much sort of time we put into it. And I did basically all the karting championships that you'd want to do. I did the British karting championships, FIA European and World Championships. Like, I did all the sort of major karting events that you'd want to do, and I had some good success, so I can't complain about that too much, and met some pretty crazy drivers along the way. I mean, for example, Kimi Antonelli and Oliver Behrman were two of my teammates growing up, so obviously you meet some pretty mad people in the process. But it was I wouldn't change any of it, to be honest. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Why is your racing number, I read it was 160?
So it thing is, I haven't really so it's kind of frustrating because basically in most championships you sort of want a number, but with sort of how I've moved over to endurance racing, you don't get to pick anymore. So my number for this year is 6, but that's basically just the team's number. I've had 2 numbers sort of throughout my career. I've had 17, which was my dad's number, and 33 was another number that he had. And I used 33 the most, but from the age of like 13 or 14 onwards, I haven't really used it since. So I don't really have too much like preference when it comes to numbers now, as I can't pick.
So you said that your end goal with racing is to end in the World Endurance Championship and with Le Mans. Is that your like favorite kind of racing, and do you watch any other types of racing?
I mean, to be honest, obviously everyone would like to be an F1. That's quite obvious for most drivers, but I think now with sort of the budget requirements for it and sort of the lack of opportunities that there are there. I mean, there's so many good drivers that are in F3 and F2, people that I'm in contact with regularly. And to be honest, we kind of realized as a family that they'd probably end up where I am anyway. Like,
Yeah.
most drivers that sort of don't end up doing Formula One will either come to like Formula E or then move over to endurance racing. So we just thought we'd bite the bullet early and go with that. But I obviously watched a lot of F1, Formula E as well, just because Jake Dennis used to be my mechanic when I was younger, and Oliver Rowland used to be my team manager. So they're sort of 2 people that I have like grown up with a lot. So I watched that. And then I watch a lot of British GT as well and BTCC.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more a lot of UK sort of series more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Um, you raced in British Formula 4 with Virtuoso Racing. How was your experience with that?
um, it was interesting. It was good to be back racing. I'm not sure. A lot of people don't know, and it's something that I'm sort of trying to give a bit more awareness about because I'm sort of older compared to a lot of people in the categories that I've been doing. I had 3 years out from racing, because I got long COVID and it basically like
Mm.
sort of wiped me out. Um, so that was quite difficult. So then coming back into F4 last year was obviously great. Virtuoso gave me the opportunity, which was really cool. And to be driving an F4 when I really didn't think I'd be back racing at all was obviously great. The year itself didn't go amazingly. I'd say there was some relationship strain is probably the best way to put it. I won't go into too much detail, but it was good to be back racing. I'll probably leave it at that.
Currently you are in the Ligier
Yeah, Ligier, yeah.
Ligier European Series, which is like the stepping stone to Le Mans. How have you enjoyed that?
Yeah, I mean it's been great so far, to be honest. I've really, really enjoyed it. It's obviously different. Having a teammate that shares the car was a little bit weird to start with. Obviously, you kind of really want to do everything for yourself as a driver. Like that's something that you sort of drilled into at a young age. It's all about you, and this becomes a lot more of like the bigger picture sort of thing. But I've enjoyed endurance racing. I'm getting on really well with Eco and the team. So I'm excited to keep going with that, and hopefully next year will be in ELMS for next season. So if that's the plan.
Yeah. Your next race is in Portimao, Italy. What are you looking forward to with that Grand Prix?
Well, it's the last race of the year. So that's going to be a big one. Currently second in the championship, and we're only 9 points behind. So the plan is to try and obviously win. That would be nice. Um, I'm obviously excited. I've driven the track before, in a different endurance championship at the beginning of the year, so I'm excited to be back. And to be honest, I just want to try and get the championship sort of sorted because that would really help for sort of next season and trying to progress up the ladder into LMP3 for next year.
Mhm. As a British driver, I have to imagine racing at Silverstone is very special.
Yeah, yeah, it was really cool. The actual weekend itself didn't go to plan as much as we'd hoped, but yeah, I obviously drove at Silverstone last year in F4, but it wasn't kind of the same because the majority of the drivers are British, so it didn't really feel that special. But then when you come to do a European series where there's only 4 British drivers on the grid, it has a bit more weight behind it when you've got people from all over the world coming to drive and to watch, and then to be one of the only British drivers there, it was quite special in front of all the fans.
Mhm. Um, and as the season so far, what have you enjoyed the most?
Oh, that's a good one. I'd probably say just actually enjoying my racing again, which is kind of it doesn't really make much sense, but I've last year because I'd just come back,
Hmm.
I put a lot of pressure on myself to sort of do well. Every weekend I was sort of thinking, oh, I just need to try and win, or I need to qualify as high as possible, or just do well. And I think when you put that pressure on yourself, it ends up having like reverse effects where you're sort of stressing about every factor and every little thing that goes wrong sort of has more of an impact on you.
Hmm.
Whereas in this year, I sort of had a different approach. Just thought I'm just going to try and enjoy it for what it is. I'm going to all these amazing tracks, visiting all these amazing places, and just try and actually enjoy racing.
Hmm.
And I've started to do that, and the results have come with that. So I think that's what I need to try and continue throughout my sort of career now. Just appreciate where I am in my journey and enjoy it a lot more. And I seem to get better results because of it. So
Yeah. You said that your dad was a racer when he was younger. How has that influenced you and affected you?
yeah, I mean, I think his like drive to do well rubbed off on me a lot. I mean, he never made it as a career because he couldn't afford to do it, and I think he's been like very motivated as much like even more probably motivated than me on the external side of things to try and make it happen because he knows what it would mean to me and my family to make it as a career. So for him not making it there, it's sort of given him the push to try and make it. And obviously, I want to repay that as well. So with him racing at younger age, it kind of came through me, and I realized that I wanted the same thing that he does, which obviously helps because then we can work together to try and achieve that. And it feels like a team goal rather than just something for me, even though I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah. In your opinion, what is the most difficult part of racing?
Oh, the most difficult part. I'd probably just say like being forgiving on yourself, on like a grander scale of things. I've been quite open, sort of, on like my mental health journey throughout racing, and it was something that I like campaigned for quite a lot earlier last year, actually, just because I think it's such a high pressure environment where a lot of things you generally can't control, like the team you're in, the car, scenarios in the race where something can happen, you get crashed out or something. Obviously, you're always searching for budget. There's so many external sort of stresses, um, and it's just really difficult to sort of manage those things because in other sports you kind of just focus on you. Obviously, you've got maybe team sport, but you're still focusing on your own sort of performance. Whereas in your performance, and you'll see it a lot in F1 as well, like you could be the best driver, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win races because things out of your control happen or you're not in the best team or all this type of stuff. So it's just about being forgiving on yourself to know that as long as you're doing your best, then that's all you can sort of hope for in that sort of case.
Yeah. When it comes to racing, what do you feel like is the most like what is your favorite part? Like is it like the pressure, the team, etc.?
My favorite part is just I feel very sort of it's probably it's weird because when I'm racing, it's kind of the calmest I feel. Uh, I'm quite a like an overthinker as a person. I've got a lot going on all the time, and I just feel like whenever I sort of get in the car, everything just sort of like fades away, and I just like drive, and it's just kind of the thing that I enjoy like doing the most out of anything. It just calms me down completely, and I basically just switches my head off entirely, and I just do what I want to do on the track, which is a pretty cool feeling when you finally get into that zone.
Yeah. When it comes to racing, what is like how do I word this in like a logical sense? Last year I interviewed Harry Reynolds,
Okay,
who raced
yeah, he's a good
in
friend of mine.
yeah, you okay, so y'all know each other.
Yes.
And when he and I spoke, he talked about the pressures of racing and things like that. Would you feel like when it comes to racing that there's too much pressure on the drivers?
I think it's a difficult one because, especially with how much money goes into it, the pressure sort of ends up being put on by yourself, not just by external things. Because, I mean, in what I'm doing now, endurance racing, it's less, but it's still hundreds of thousands a year for parents, sponsors, just any sort of people that are involved. And when there's that sort of money being played around with no real guarantee of anything in return or no return on investment from it, I think there can be quite a lot of pressure put on in general. I think it's difficult to sort of get rid of that as well because it is a big stage. You've got a lot of people watching. You've got a lot of people committing time to it, and you've got a lot of internal struggle where you're wanting to make it as a career. So I feel like it's yes, probably yes. There's too much pressure, but at the same time, it's just something that we have to sort of deal with, and learning to deal with that as part of being a driver, I think.
Yeah. So your family is very supportive of your career?
Yeah, yeah. They're amazing. I mean, my parents have always been there for me. My dad is basically at every single race. When he's got a job and all this type of stuff, my mum's the same. My mum can't come to as many races as she'd like to, again for work reasons, but they're always there as much as she can. My sisters as well, especially when I was younger and racing a lot more at the weekends. Um, they were sacrificing things for me to race by not going to birthday parties or seeing their friends. So, I mean, they've been amazing, and I owe most of what I've done to them, to be honest.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have a very good support system around you.
Yeah,
And as well as that, when it comes to working with teams, you're currently working with Ons Motorsport, which is a French racing team.
yeah.
Do you do you speak French or?
No, I I'm not great with language, to be honest. I'm learning Italian. My stepmom's Italian. I used to live out there as well, so hopefully I'll get that sorted. Ferrari can then pick me up when I've got that fluently. Um, but no, the teams are all amazing in racing. I mean, I haven't met a single team that I've raced for, and I've raced for teams all over the place, and they all speak English. And to be honest, they all want to speak English because it's sort of the language of the paddock, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, when you've got drivers from all over the world, the one language that they all end up knowing is English. So it's lucky for me as a driver that I don't have to. Um, I try my best to at least greet them in French and ask them how they're doing and that sort of stuff. But apart from that, that's kind of where the line gets drawn with it.
Yeah, French is very difficult in my experience with it.
Yes, yeah, I agree for sure.
Um, but you said you're learning Italian. How's that going?
It's going okay. Like I said, my stepmother, she kind of refuses to speak to me in English anymore, which is something that I asked for. That's not She didn't force that on me. I said only speak to me in Italian, and hopefully I'll be able to pick it up.
Mhm.
Um, it's getting on okay. I'm definitely a long way away from fluency, but I've noticed that since listening to her a lot more and the conversations she has, and the same with like my stepbrothers and stuff, I can understand. I'd probably say 75 to 80% of what's being said now, which is good. I think the speaking bit is going to take a lot longer to come. But sort of listening and reading, I've got down quite well. The speaking will take a bit more time.
Growing up, like, how have you followed with your like education? What has been the path that you took?
So to be honest, I've taken basically the standard route with education in the UK. I mean, a lot of drivers end up sort of dropping out and doing online school or stuff like that. My parents were always quite adamant that I should stay on top of my schooling, especially because obviously I'm fortunate to be in the scenario that I'm in, but we still don't have the money that some other drivers do. So I definitely don't have as much of a guarantee a career than others do. I mean, even this morning I was on a meeting looking for sponsorship, so I'm constantly sort of busy with that. So we decided that I need to have a backup plan if racing doesn't work out. So I did all British schooling, GCSEs, A levels. GCSEs went well. A levels not as much. I think F4 definitely got in the way of that a little bit. And then I've done 1 year of university doing engineering. I've taken a like a leave of absence from uni,
Mhm.
just to sort of focus for the start of next season on racing, to fully commit. Like we've decided to give it one final like push to make a career out of it. Got a good opportunity for LMP3 next year, so we're just going to try and go with that and one final push.
Yeah, you said that you're studying engineering. Would you want to be like an engineer in the racing like world?
I think I made that decision in retrospect that future me would want to, because at the moment I'm in a bit of a weird scenario where I feel like if I stopped racing, I'd kind of want to completely forget racing existed, if that makes sense, and just focus on something entirely different. But I thought that was kind of stupid because obviously it's what I love to do. Um, so I did it in hindsight that future me would sort of think, you know, I want to be still part of this paddock, and being an engineer in racing would be cool to do. But not at the moment, not at the moment, maybe
Mhm.
later on.
What's your favorite team at the moment, like in F1 or in just any form of motorsport?
I'm gonna try and stay as neutral as possible to not close any doors, because obviously
Mm.
got to make sure
Hmm.
there's still opportunities on the table. Um, I'm not gonna say that I'm not a Ferrari fan, because I am a Ferrari fan when it comes to F1. Like I said, I lived in Italy. I've got my grandmother's Italian. Like I've got a lot of Italian family,
Oh, so
and to
so you've been
be
very
honest,
disappointed recently with Ferrari.
I mean, I think I try and enjoy the fact that I'm watching Ferrari and ignore the results entirely, because it can just be quite depressing. So I just don't really pay attention to that. So if you pay attention to Ferrari and WEC, you'll have a lot better time winning 24 Hours Le Mans, leading the championship. Like if you look at it from that perspective, if you ignore F1 and look at Ferrari in every other championship, they're doing great. So I think that's probably for the best.
You win some, you lose some.
Exactly.
Wrapping up here, but I'm so happy that you agreed to do this. And just what would be your message to people? Like, if someone's first impression of you is this interview, what would you want them to take away?
I'll do something entirely sort of away from racing. I'd just say, like, never sort of give up on something that you can't go a day without thinking about. I think if it's something that you're always consumed with, and it's something that you love, I feel like you shouldn't give up on it until your last sort of breath. I mean, for me, I was so close to giving up on racing, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because I knew that it's something that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we're now in a much better position than we were, and I'm going to keep fighting as long as I physically can.
Well, I'll keep an eye on you and hopefully see you in the Endurance Championship.
Yes, hopefully.
But thank you for doing this. Yeah, I'm so grateful that you were here to talk to me and learn about your racing journey.
No worries. Thank you for speaking to me.
Of course. Okay, hold on, let me stop the record. That was my interview with Maxwell. It was so good, and he's truly just a lovely guy, and I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to his story and everything that's happened in his life and in his racing career. And yeah, like I said, next week is COTA, and you should definitely subscribe so you get to see my opinions and the whole recap on that. Okay, I love you all. Make decisions and don't do bad things. Roll the outro.